All right, guys. Well, Happy New Year and welcome to another episode. First off, I just wanted to start this by saying thank you to everybody who has reached out over the last couple weeks and just listened to the podcast and followed the podcast. I just want to just say just a big thank you to everybody. It's incredibly just humbling and motivating for us here to just see the support. And thank you very much to everybody who's taken the time to send us messages or emails. It really means a lot. So, um, to all of you, you know who you are. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we're here to bring you another one. So, this episode is going to be a little bit different. This one is a Blacktail specific episode. We've decided that we're gonna post these to the main Crimson Way pages, but they'll be labeled Blacktail Brotherhood. So anytime you see anything that starts with Blacktail Brotherhood, it's going to be a Blacktail specific video or podcast. So um, I'm super excited for this one today, guys. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while now, is talk about these sheds that I picked up this year. But I was kind of waiting for all the hunting seasons to finish up, and then we're working on getting the main podcast out. So, but I got a little bit of time now, and I'm honestly having a lot of fun with the Blacktail content lately. We've got some big plans for 2026. We'll create an episode that we'll create a podcast episode and a video that kind of goes over some more of that, kind of my plans for the 2026 hunting season. But in this particular episode, I'm going to tell you guys the story about picking up these sheds. We're going to talk a little bit about them. This is an exceptionally large buck for a blacktail. And I think there's something to be learned. I think there's some lessons to be learned, if you guys like killing giant bucks. This buck taught me a few things. So we're kind of gonna go over that. I will show you guys the antlers. We'll talk about some of the numbers, and yeah. Without further ado, I guess one of the other reasons I was a little bit apprehensive about talking about them is that they're really big. I was hoping that this buck was still alive. I think that there's a pretty good chance. As far as I can tell, I think the sheds have been on the ground for 4 years. So this buck would have grown his antlers in 2021, I believe, and shed them in 2022, I think. But it's kind of hard to tell. They are honestly in pretty good shape. They're a little green. They were sitting in the shade, so they were relatively well protected. But after running a whole bunch of cameras in there this year, I'm pretty confident this buck is no longer alive. So I don't mind talking about it, I guess. But yeah, without further ado, let's kind of get into it. I guess first let me let me show these things off. Unfortunately, when I picked these up, it was it was right before I really decided that I was going to start doing videos. And so I have some pictures and some videos. I have the pickup on this one. We didn't get the pickup on this one. This was actually the second side that we picked up. But I guess just to kind of get into it, I had been wanting to find a new spot to deer hunt, somewhere on public ground that I didn't have to worry about property lines, that I could kind of roam and work hard. Really, that was one of my main goals for the year, was just to find somewhere that I really could explore and learn something new. I was just looking for a new challenge this year. And so I set out to, it's something that I've been thinking about for several years now. And I spend a lot of time looking at maps. I'll spend a lot of time every year just researching areas that I'm kind of interested in, even though I may or I may not go there that year. And these sheds actually was kind of the culmination of that process. There was an area on the map that I thought it was kind of remote, pretty difficult to get to begin with. And it was in an area that I thought maybe people would overlook. And there was a really prominent, there's a nice ridge with a prominent bench and saddle on it that I really just liked. I liked the look of it on a map. And not specifically for deer per se, but it was a spot that could, I kind of thought actually that it was going to be more of an elk spot than a deer spot, to be honest. There were just the kind of the way that the topography laid out. I suspected there to be a few elk in there. So this summer, I had a little bit of time, and one afternoon, I came home and I was kind of getting my rig packed to head up into the mountains, and my dad walked over. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm gonna bomb up into the hills and see if I can. I've got an area that I want to go explore." So he's like, "Well, you care if I go with you?" So I was like, "No, that's fine. Yeah, you can go with me." And so we headed up there, and it was like, I don't even think we left our house until 1 or 2 o'clock. Like, it was pretty late in the day by the time we left. And this is in August, and so it gets dark at 9. So we still had quite a bit of daylight, but it was a pretty good drive up there. Took a few hours to get there, and then we basically just kind of bushwhacked it as fast as we could to where I wanted to get to. And the whole way in there, really didn't look that good, to be honest. Like, we weren't really seeing that much animal sign. There was no elk sign whatsoever. But then once we got in there closer to the top of the ridge, there started to be quite a bit more deer sign, especially like quite a few rubs, a lot of big rubs, things that I was and rubs of all different ages. Like, it wasn't just new rubs, like there was every different age of rub imaginable in this area. And so I really was kind of getting a little bit excited about it, just because the amount of deer sign that was in there. And we were kind of working our way out this ridge, and I really wanted to find some places to put up a couple trail cameras, just because I was curious. And I brought a few with me. So me and my dad, we kind of split up, and there's kind of this ridge, without giving away like too many details. This ridge runs out, and then it's pretty steep coming up like both sides of it. And it's kind of got a flat top, and then it's got a finger that runs out of it. And it's pretty steep kind of coming up to the top of the ridge. And so oftentimes on those hills, as they come up, like right towards the top of the hill, oftentimes there'll be like a prominent game trail. Most of the time it's not like right on the top, but just over the roll, there'll be like a pretty good game trail in there. It's kind of an area that I like to key in on, especially for running cameras, just because it's kind of, especially for bucks in the rut, it's kind of a collection point where you'll catch the bucks midday cruising. They're just scent checking the thermals as they're coming up out of those bigger canyons. Those bucks will just run those ridges, and I find that kind of right at the back of them is a really good place to get pictures of deer. And also, just to kind of, there's generally always like a pretty good trail in there if there's any amount of animal activity in areas like that. And so I was kind of looking on the flat. I was kind of exploring kind of like the flat knob, if you will, but it's a pretty big area. And my dad, he was kind of walking the edge of this rim, if you will, and he called me over, and he'd found a pretty good trail, right about where we expected there would be one. And it wasn't, I didn't love what I was seeing from a camera standpoint. It just wasn't, it didn't look good enough that I thought that it was like the best spot to put a camera. So we still had like a little bit of daylight. So we kind of were looking around, took note of it, looked around a little bit, didn't find anything really better. So we grabbed that trail and started following it kind of down the ridge. And I'd always wanted to. I've seen guys like Nathan pick up a lot of antlers up in the timber, and like Ragged Ridge on YouTube. If you guys haven't looked him up, he's got some awesome videos. His shed vlogs are fantastic, and I've learned a lot by watching these guys. Kind of like seeing the terrain that they pick the sheds up in, and just kind of like paying attention, and because I've always wanted to find an area up there that I could pick up antlers, but I've never, up until this point, I've thought about it extensively, but I've never actually gone up and done it. And I didn't really I didn't know what elevation to be looking at. Like I didn't know any of this. I just had a desire to find a spot to pick up sheds. And so we're kind of, I guess, to get back to the story, we're walking down this trail, and there's a very prominent bench and saddle down below us. And so I'm a big fan of saddles when it comes to running trail cameras. It's just, I've had very good luck. If I run a mineral site, generally speaking, I'll try to put a mineral site in a saddle, just because it's a natural collection point for animals. And so I had actually dropped a waypoint, like 2 years prior. I had put a waypoint on this saddle that said "walk to here." So I really wanted to get down to this bench and this waypoint and look. And the trail kind of just happened to run like basically right to it. So I thought, okay, that's perfect. Like that's right where I want to put my camera. Right there is in that saddle. So we're walking down the trail, and we made it a couple hundred yards, and I looked up in front of me, and I was kind of looking for sheds, because the terrain looked similar to like the terrain that I see in these other guys' videos on YouTube that are picking up antlers. So I was kind of looking for sheds, but also, to be honest, I didn't really think I was going to find any. And this is what I saw. And I'll put a picture in here, and then I'll also put the video of the pickup. But this is what I saw. Like I couldn't see the base of it, and it was out there in front of me, like pretty far, probably like 30 or 40 yards when I picked it up. When I saw it first, and all I could see was just tines. And right out of the gate, I knew it was a giant shed. And I lost my mind. Like I was jumping up and down like a little girl, and just like super excited. And my dad was behind me, and he is wondering, like, he thought I'd like lost my mind or something, or that I was being stung by bees, or because I had just completely lost my mind. And I go running up there, and I'm like, look at this shed, like this is crazy, this is a giant shed. And the closer that I got, the bigger that it got, and the more points that it got, and it was just incredible. I was like, this is insane. Like this is the biggest shed that I have ever seen. And all the inlines, and it was in pretty good shape. Like it's a little bit chewed on. There's definitely some chewed off of it, but all in all, it's in very, very good shape. I hope you guys can get that and see that. And the eye guard, the eye guard is just big. I'm a sucker for eye guards and trash on the bases, and this buck's got all of it, just like really heavy, and just honestly in exceptional shape. And so, an antler this big, chances are that, I mean, it's heavy. I didn't weigh it, but it's heavy. Um, and an antler this big, if you lost one side, chances are very likely that the other side is not very far away. So I, I, immediately we picked it up, and put our packs down, and we just kind of started gridding it out. And this is this. Well, I'll finish the story. So we gridded around as well as we could, and didn't really find anything. Didn't find any more antlers. Did not find the match. And we basically only gridded like this antler was literally sitting right on the break of the ridge, and we gridded one side of the ridge, but did not even touch the other side of the ridge. So and it was getting, we were a ways back in there, and it was getting towards dark, so we packed up and just started beelining out. And I had to go back to work. I think the next day I had to go back to work, and all I could think about was this shed. I was just like, this is crazy. That's a giant antler. And I wanted to go back up there. It's been sitting there for years, but I was so paranoid that somebody else was going to go up there and find that other side before I could find it. Um, and so I think I worked the next day, and the day after that, I was working on a big excavation project, trying to get a bunch of dirt work done before the rain came. But the day after, it was supposed to start raining pretty hard, and so I was like, okay, that's the day I'm going back up there, and I'm going to match this thing up. And I figured honestly that the chances of matching it up were reasonably high, just because of how big it was, and the fact that like you couldn't have made it too far with the other side is what I was thinking. So my brother actually, he wanted to go up with me and go look for it, obviously. And I told him, I said, that's fine, but if you find that shed, I said, you can go up there and you can keep whatever sheds you find, except if you find the match to this one, you have to cough it up, because I mean, yeah. And so he's like, all right, yeah, whatever. And so we went up there, and it was pouring down rain, just absolutely pouring down rain. And the way that it kind of laid out, I thought that it was reasonably likely that the match would be on the side of the ridge that we had already kind of gridded. And in Ragged Ridge's videos, he talks about, and I think it's very smart. I think it's smart to the point where I started employing this tactic. But he talks about wherever you think the shed is going to be, go there kind of last, because you'll have it keeps your morale up, and it keeps your motivation up, and you just do a more meticulous and better job of picking through the country that you don't necessarily think that you're going to find it, because uh, you still have anticipation and hope that you're going to find it, I guess is the best way to put it. I misspoke a minute ago. The side of the hill that we gridded out before, that was, I thought that we were probably going to find the match on the other side of the hill, and I'll kind of explain why in a minute. But so the first thing that me and my brother did when we got up there is we re-gridded everything that me and my dad had gridded a couple days before, but we went further down the hill. We just did like a bigger area. We covered, we both had our trackers on, and we gridded out the whole hillside. And we actually managed to pick up quite a few more antlers on that hillside, and some really big ones too, like old, but some really nice, some really nice antlers. Like, it was very obvious that this was an area that mature bucks shed, because all the sheds that we were picking up were of pretty good size. So we gridded through. It took us a few hours, but we gridded this hillside out. Couldn't find anything, and so we finally kind of reached the realization that we'd kind of gone, far enough and covered most everything. So we ran back up to the hill and ate our lunch and got ready to kind of go around the dive off the other side. And sure enough, we didn't. I mean, we we finished our lunch up and we were on our very first pass, and my brother was a little bit above me, and he just started freaking out, and he's losing his mind, and he's running around and he's looking at the ground and he's yelling and carrying on. And it wasn't the match. This one wasn't 30 yards probably from where I picked up the other one. I had kind of glanced over there, but I didn't. I just didn't look hard enough. If I would have walked over there, I'd have saw it for sure. It was pretty obvious, but it just didn't see it. But my brother ended up finding it, and he was just absolutely stoked. Whenever, like, when I found this side, I was like, okay, like, that is an absolutely enormous, ridiculous shed. Like, there's no way that the other side is going to be that big. Like, the other side's probably just a big, clean 4-point is what I was thinking. Because the first side that you pick up is always the big side. Like, you never pick up a bigger shed on the second one. It's almost always the other way around. So when my brother picked this one up, and it's got even more points and more crazy character to it, and it's every bit as big as the first side, my mind was just blown. I was like, this is just an absolutely ridiculous monster buck. But I mean, he's got this crazy cool little kicker here, and all the different, lot more non-typical. And this one's not quite in as good of a shape. It's got a little bit more mouse chewing on it. Almost all the points are chewed off on this one. He's missing some inches right here on this point. But just, I mean, crazy palmation. And just really big. This one actually, this one has a significantly longer main beam than the other one does. And the other one's chewed off. So I think the other one was probably more similar to this one. But this one, that main beam, there's a lot of main beam there. The main beam on this one measures 23 inches. And I think it's most of what it was. There might be a little bit chewed off there, but just an incredible, just giant monster Mondo blacktail shed. And this is for all of you naysayers out there that I do not believe this in any capacity to be a bench leg buck. Call me crazy, but where these sheds came from, that would be a long ways for any kind of a mule deer genetic to go. Not saying that it's 100%, not possible, but regardless, I mean, he's a giant buck. Let's get into the numbers, I guess, a little bit. So the left antler, which is the first side that I picked up, is, I wrote all this down because I wouldn't remember it. The left antler measures out, as it is right now, is 84 5/8 inches. And like, by no means am I a professional scorer, but I took my time and measured these correctly. Like, this is as accurate as I could possibly measure them. I measured them several times. And so these numbers are very, very, very close to what this buck would actually score. I'm not cheating. If anything, I was conservative when I measured these. But the left antler is 84 5/8 inches. It has a 21-inch main beam, but like I said, this one's chewed off quite a bit. So it's hard telling, what the actual length was. But as this antler sits right here, it's 84 5/8 inches. This one, the right antler, it actually is a little bit smaller inch-wise. It has more bone, but it doesn't quite score as good. But The right antler, as it sits right here, is 81 and 4/8. It has a main beam of 23 inches, which is like it's pretty crazy. Like that is a giant main beam. So yeah, if you add those together, as they sit, not including anything that's chewed off, no spread, nothing, just these two antlers combined together as they are, is 166 and 1/8 inches. So to to put this in perspective, right? Okay, like this is you know, that's this buck. Um, this is a 150-inch blacktail. I don't know if this is really going to do this justice, but like this is a giant blacktail, and those antlers make these look incredibly small. it's crazy to think about. But where was I going with all this? So if we assume a spread of inside spread, we're not talking outside, inside spread. If we assume a spread of 15 inches, which I think is like very realistic, if not extremely conservative, that as this buck sits, that puts him at 181 and 1/8. And realistically, I think there's every bit of 5 inches chewed off of the points. Like if you start really like adding things up and looking at him, he does have a fair bit chewed off of him. So, you know, as far as I can tell, best I can tell, I think this is like a true mid 180s blacktail, which is just utter insanity to think about. You know, I feel very, very, very blessed to be able to, you know, find them before they were completely chewed up, or you know, just to find them at all. I mean, just to know that a buck of this caliber existed is pretty incredible. So, I guess like kind of for the takeaways, the things that this buck taught me, there was two like major takeaways that I really learned. The first one was that in order for I've hunted what I would have considered to be some big blacktails, nothing even remotely close to this. Genetics plays some, obviously. Feed plays some for sure, but I think the biggest contributing factor to getting freak nasty, just giant blacktails like this is age. Like, it's hard telling, but this buck had the opportunity to grow this big. And if you really want to kill giant bucks, you have to go where bucks can get old enough that they can become giant. I think that's the first like major takeaway. This spot is pretty remote, and it's somewhere that is probably like I know that it is overlooked by most people. And that is why I went there in the first place, is because I was on the hunt for an area that doesn't have a lot of pressure. Like I do not like hunting around pressure. And so that's really what like struck out to me about this spot on the map in the first place to begin with. And so that's the first, I guess that's the first like major takeaway. You know, like this is a giant buck. It's a buck that, you know, you don't really hear that much about. You know, I don't know many people that have picked up 180-inch blacktail sheds. But he had the opportunity to get big, you know, like that I think that's a key. This is obviously a very special buck, you know, like this is an abnormality, but nonetheless, like he had the opportunity to get this big. You're probably not ever going to shoot a buck like this out of a clear cut. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but if you want to kill that next level, like mega giant buck, you're probably not going to find them in the clear cuts. You could, like anything's possible, but yeah, that was like my first like major takeaway. Second one is where this buck shed. There's a very his wintertime bedroom, and I would love to know more about this buck. I wish I did. I don't. But where I picked his sheds up, at least, it was a very like if you were a giant buck and you're like, where would I like to spend my winter? This was a very unique area where he was living on the top of a ridge, and on one side of the ridge there was a giant rock shelf that completely protected and isolated. It was completely protected from the weather. Like he could have rode out any storm underneath that essentially rock face and would have been completely like basically dry. Like when we went up there, it was a torrential rainstorm, and the whole area underneath this big rock face, like it was windy and it was nasty and it was rainy. As soon as you walked over the spine of this ridge and kind of got back in there, it was beautiful. Like there was no wind. There was this big rock wall behind him of like protection. Like nothing could get him from behind, and he could just sit there and just look down below him through the trees. He could smell anything that was coming up. He could see anything that was coming up. And then all he had to do for his food was just literally walk 40 yards out from the protected sheltered area and go right around the edge of the ridge, and he had all the food in the world that he possibly could want. Like it was a typical blacktail wintering range, like big timber, lots of moss on the ground, lots of sticks on the ground, steep hillside, just like typical um, blacktail, just really, really nice blacktail habitat. And since I picked these up, these this was kind of like the catalyst, if you will, to my running around that area this year. But since then, I have picked up many, many, many blacktail sheds. Like I got into them pretty good. Not just in that area, but after I kind of knew what I was looking for and I had an elevation. And kind of an area to target, then things really started clicking and I started learning pretty fast. And I picked up a whole bunch of sheds, but the biggest sheds that I picked up all year last year were all in this same exact area. And I think that it is probably directly correlated to the specialness of that spot and the way that the actual topography of that particular spot laid out. I think that is the big dominant buck is going to seek out the best place on a mountain. And I honestly think that spot that I found where these sheds were is, I think that is really, I think that is exactly what that was the best spot on the mountain, like the preferred spot for a buck that is wintering there. And so that was like really, I guess, like kind of the big takeaway is that even though I found sheds kind of like all over, I found sheds from the bottom of the mountain all the way to the top of the mountain and everywhere in between. But the big ones were all like pretty located in one specific area. And I just found that like very interesting. So that was a takeaway that I took out of it. And then I guess like kind of the last takeaway is, I have talked about doing it and I have wanted to do it for years, being like going up there and finding a spot to go like shed hunt and hunt. But it wasn't until that I actually like took action. Like nobody gave me that spot. Nobody said, like this is the elevation that you should go look around at. Nobody gave me any guidance whatsoever. I asked people, right? But they're all like, well, yeah, just go figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. You know, if I never would have gone, we wouldn't be here right now, right? Like the story, these would still be up there probably, or somebody else would have picked them up. But you don't know if you don't go, and I think that's a really true statement. So as we come closer to February here, and the antlers are going to start dropping and hitting the ground, I guess this is just my encouragement to you guys. Don't be afraid to go try and fail. You know, like since then, since I've picked these up, I've been to numerous new spots, and to be completely honest, uh, I think there's been one time that I just went to a completely new spot and just got completely skunked in a day. I have picked antlers up everywhere I have gone, and so it really. But now I kind of know what I'm looking for, right? Like that's the biggest thing. That's how we learn, right? As we go and we do things, and you might not always succeed. Sometimes you're going to fail, but sometimes you will succeed, and it will literally kind of, I guess, alter the course of your life. Like if these sheds set something in motion that at this point in time legitimately has changed my life. So just wanted to share them with you. It's a special buck. I think there's a few things to be learned from the story. And yeah, I mean, he's cool. He's a cool buck. As far as blacktails go, this one is a magnum. And I don't know, I just think that he should be appreciated for what he was. I'm going to go see if I can find his dead head or more horns off of him this year. I'm pretty confident that he's no longer with us, but I mean, just what an awesome, incredible buck! You know, just a buck of a lifetime. I hope that I find some sheds bigger than this someday, or a buck bigger than this someday. But if I don't, you know, I'm super stoked and honored that I got the opportunity to hold these. And here's my question to you guys: leave a comment down below. If you were in my shoes, this is something that I've been seriously thinking about, is like, do you leave them as is, exactly how you found them, all chewed up and green, or would you refurbish them? It's hard. I think honestly at this point in time, I'm kind of leaning towards getting them refurbished, just because they're so special. You know, like this is an incredible buck, and most of the time I'm all for leaving antlers just the way that you found them, but this one's kind of a unique situation. You know, he's a giant buck. So at any rate, I just wanted to share this with you guys. There'll be lots more blacktail content to come, but yeah, here's your motivation to go out and find some big antlers and explore some new country. So until next time, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We'll have more for you in the future.